Let's see, this is November already. So welcome to November's breakfast meeting. And let's see, do we have any guests, new members?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Would you please like to get up, introduce yourself, and tell us in 30 seconds what you are, who you are, and what do you plan to do?
My name is Glenn Ash. I live in Malton, New Jersey. I am retired. I plan to live long enough to collect all my pension. And I was a principal and an accountant. That's about it. Looking forward to having a good time on Sunday.
Welcome. Hopefully you brought a good appetite.
I did.
Did you also get interest on your principal?
I can't.
Did you also get interest on your principal?
No.
Here we go again. It's too early in the morning. Sit down.
Hey, Dave? You forgot.
Yes, good.
Remember Howard Richards right over here.
Howard, welcome.
Thank you. Been in Cherry Hill 52 years. Arrived here, I was Jewish and I still am. According to my rabbi.
Okay.
And glad to be here. I've heard about it for a little while and had some health problems, but I think he's doing well now, so I was happy to come and join.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more new members and guests? Bob.
Bob Smirich, Mount Laurel, insurance agent, your agency, ex-Navy submarine. Here's my good friend.
remove name tags, I know it's usually
Talk this morning, so I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. Next table over.
My name's Donald Bean. I moved here last year from New York, and I was a pickle salesman for 37 years.
Wow.
Russ's Pickles.
Russ's Pickles.
I run down a deli in the Lower East Side. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Do we have any other guests? Okay, we're going to make a motzi. You are the newest member, so would you like to make our motzi? No? Okay. Okay, yeah, I will. Howard, would you like to do the motzi? And, excuse me, Howard, before you do the motzi, when it comes to going up to the table, I would like the people who have some physical problems, as well as our new members and guests, to go up first. Let them get to the table first before everybody else charges up. Okay, go ahead, Howard.
Do we all say it together?
Yes. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. All right, hold on, guys. People with physical problems and guests. Yeah, I know that. Just as a reminder, we moved the table over here for the books, toiletries, food, telephones. So if you have any to contribute, please come over here. Books, any books you want, you can take, no charge. Since the program is quite long, the amount of business we're going to conduct is relatively short. Dick will give his usual presentation of name tags to our newest members.
All good looking. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Mark Friedrich, are you here?
I didn't see him.
Didn't see Mark, okay. They've got Irv Snyder. Right here. Come on up.
Come on back.
All right.
Their battle pay?
Yeah, right. There you go.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, wait. Gotta
We
shake
need to
your hand.
blackmail you?
We have to shake your hand. All
Shake your
right,
hand.
one more.
Photo op. Don't break the camera.
Hey, Barry Abrams.
He's over here. Look at this. This is
Oh, there he is. Wow, all in the same table.
the newbie table.
The newbie.
Come on down.
They put us all together.
By the way, here's a pin. I guess this pin is in case you have a pacemaker.
Yes,
That's what
yes.
All right, here you go.
Larry.
One more. One more in case it blows up.
Okay. You may have noticed that there are some people here who are wearing long sleeve shirts. Ed Stein, you want to quickly come up here?
These are our new long sleeve shirts. They're $25. They're polyester. They should come out of the wash and look pretty much like this. You don't have to iron them or anything. Well, they're running pretty big. This is a medium, and it kind of covers pretty well. So I have them after the meeting if you want to stop in the back. And our new members, if you haven't gotten a short sleeve shirt yet, stop back for the newer members.
Oh, okay. See what I knew.
Marty?
Yes.
Norm.
Oh.
Come on up, Norm. I gave it.
Come on, Dave, come on down again.
Thanks for reminding me. All right, thanks, Norm. Norm Greenman.
What's that? Norm.
Norm. Supposed to say in the camera? Norm. Cheers. Cheers. Okay.
All right, at the table, there are sign-up sheets for our second annual Coping with Christmas Voorhees Diner Luncheon. So, Abe, first, just in 1 minute or less, please give us a big spiel about this.
Hi guys, we are going to have the luncheon, Christmas luncheon on Christmas Day. It's a Monday at 12:30 at Voorhees Diner. I have sign-up sheets on every table. And obviously, if you don't want to do it now, you can always email me. But it's going to be, we had it last year and it was very good. It's individual checks, and so there's no you can order anything you want. I talked to the guy; he's really nice there, and he can handle 50 people very easily. He gets a little annoyed if it's more, but we'll can push it. So please sign up or just send me an email. Okay, thank you. Yes. Yes, wives too. Yeah. We had 50 people last year, so it was very successful. Or friends too, right? Yeah, you can bring friends.
And last business item, Nelson?
I put a flyer on a lot of your tables. Has to do with the Hanukkah party at the Joint Base, which is Joint Base McGuire, Fort Dix, Lakehurst. It's going to be on December 19th. It's a wonderful experience. It's also, there's a promotion ceremony before that. On Tuesday, December 19th, if you'd like to attend, please send me an email. I'll get your name on the list to get access to the base. You'll have an opportunity to see a bunch of little kids from the military side that you don't usually see, as well as adults. And I'd appreciate it if you could be there. Thank you.
One more last item, mitzvah cards.
Very quickly, just reminding everybody, our new mitzvah cards. We've got the $5 cards, fabulous for holidays. They're coming up. Send a donation on someone's behalf to the men's club. And for the extra special people, we've got $18 mitzvah cards, Gold Chai mitzvah cards. If you buy a package of 10 of the 5s, you get an $18 free. If you buy 5 of the 5s, you get a $5 free.
Such a bargain.
So, such a bargain. You can't beat it, not even with a stick. Remember your mitzvah cards.
Thank you, Phil. Okay, we're going to start the program. We have two things today. We're going to have a major presentation that will be given, and you ready for this? Our 8 former presidents of this organization. Every president that has served at least 2 years is here. Okay, their presentation essentially is going to be about what is SJMC, why is it there, what can you get out of it, what can it do for you, and I'm not going to take any more of their presentation. So Mike, I think, where are you, Mike? There you are.
Good morning, everyone. As you can imagine, we're going to try to keep moving very quickly so there's plenty of time for the next presentation. Why do people belong to the South Jersey Men's Club? Why do they remain a member of the Men's Club? And the reason is very varied. Some time ago, we ended up having papers on everybody's table that says why, and asked that question. It was everything from it's a way to give back, to do things for the community, to making new friends and camaraderie, and up and down the line. And the paper that we're using for today, and each president will do a different page, is going to be is already on our website, so you'll be able to download it. Something to keep in mind, please, is that we have quite a few members that are also members of their synagogue men's club, so we're not in competition. Dual membership. Could you turn this one off, please?
Looking at it, you can't see the face.
Okay. Be able to read. No problem. He's very old. Very, very, very old. Very, exceptionally old.
This guy calling me old?
You'll notice, you used to be old, Dave. What are you now? That's enough. There's 2 of these on each table. When you hear of something that you didn't know about and would like to participate in, you'll see there's space on the side to put your name. There's pens on each table. There's 2 of these. They'll be collected by the programming people at the end of the meeting. Also, if you think of something, a great trip or program, write it on the back. It'd be very helpful. Okay, South Jersey Men's Club is not just these guys that you see, not just all these guys that come in and prepare the meal before you're here. It's also many other jobs. We have something that one of our past presidents has put together we call the Forum. It's about the South Jersey Men's Club functions, organizations, responsibilities, user manual. Everything we do is an opportunity for you to help. Nobody ever gets burned out because everybody does one little thing. Next thing to tell you about is our webpage. We don't have a whole lot of you who've been to our webpage. I would strongly urge you to go to it. All notices, all documents, everything, it's still a work in progress, is to be found on the webpage. And it's sjmclub.org. Okay, it's still a work in progress. We're going to be able to have it so that people can do things like pay for their dues, pay for trips, things like that, make donations. Okay, before I get started on the convention, we have a mission statement. If you've looked at your emails, at the bottom of each one is the mission statement. Dave?
Okay, our mission is to enrich members' lives through programs and activities of Jewish interest. We also serve the Jewish community. We provide knowledge and appreciation of Jewish culture. We stimulate social and cultural activities amongst members and with the community. And we train leaders of the Jewish community.
Thank you, Dave. Following me will be Rich Moskowitz. So, Rich, if you'd come up here. The International Federation of Jewish Men's Club is what we're part of. We are club number 503 in that club. And they had a convention last summer. It's held every 2 years. If you'd like to go to one in the future, just let us know. We subsidize it. At the club, at the conventions every 2 years, they have torch awards. We won Best in North America. Best club. That's something that very few clubs have ever been able to achieve. Now, we had a 25-year anniversary celebration a few years ago, and what we ended up doing was getting all our awards out. That's a lot of awards.
Some of them are back there, so you can always...
Yeah, Rich always brings a sampling of them and puts them back there. Now look at this one. This is some others. We have certificates from the state legislature, the county, the municipality. But see what the arrow is pointing to? A menorah. There'll be a little bit more about that special menorah. It's sitting on the table here where the slide projector is. It's traveled a bit. We're also part of the Middle Atlantic region of the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs, and at that we participate in quite a few things with them. One thing is a tour to shuls, which supports Jewish charities in Camp Ramah. They didn't have it this year, but they may have it in the next. You'll notice that my daughter and Alan Finkelstein were part of the last one. Guys, I thought I'd die. It was like 20-some miles, but we did it. We have a Man of the Year. Sorry for the poor picture, but it's the best I could do with what we have.
Looks better in that picture than in person.
You know, that's true. He does. And again, this was like, I don't know where that came from. It was the best I could find of the people who went to support him. It's coming up soon, and we have a delegation going. We chose not to have somebody as Man of the Year. I mean, after 20-some years, we believe you water it down too much. We pick people we believe should get it. We also do some things like have joint meetings. This is one just last week. And you'll notice here. By the way, I want to point out, you'll see a minimum of 50 different members participating in all this. And now I'd like to introduce Rich Moskowitz. Rich.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here. It was an honor being president of the South Jersey Men's Club. I'm here to talk about the Jewish Federation related community services. Of the many activities we've volunteered with, one was the Super Sunday. We help with Super Sunday, follow-up fund drives. We've been doing that since 1991. And even more important, we do help with the food preparation for that day. We provided free catering service during Super Sunday, as you can see up here. Now the Jewish Department of Jewish Education. Keep going? Okay. We only collected Hanukkah cards for United States and Israeli troops. It's Operation Maccabi. We're going to be talking about that later, I think? Okay. We supported programs in conjunction with the Department of Jewish Education, Jewish war veterans, to collect and distribute Passover cards to U.S. troops in 2010 to 12. We also helped set up exhibits and workshops at the Echelon Mall for a day in Israel and Passover Academy. We provided scholarships for the Hebrew High School, and we made contributions towards the funding staff. We've also worked closely with the Jewish Community Relations Council, and the South Jersey Men's Club members have served as officers and board members and committee chairman of the JCRC. One of the main activities we've done with the JCRC is we've supported the Goodwin Holocaust Museum and Education Center. We members have served as officers and docents of the Education Center, which is downstairs. And when the center was just being formed, we physically moved all the museum exhibits from Gratz College to the Cherry Hill site. I remember doing that. We had a whole bunch of guys unloading on the truck, off the truck, a lot of schlepping, but it was well worth it. We've created a photo catalog of exhibits, and I'm happy to say we were the first organization to become a lifetime member of the Goodwin Holocaust Education. We solicited second organization lifetime memberships for the Jewish war veterans, and we donate a portion of the 50-50 proceeds from the Law Enforcement Appreciation Program. We're also highly involved with the Yom HaShoah program, and we've created, funded, and staffed annual program which distributes thousands, and literally thousands of Yom HaShoah yellow Yortzeit candles, with all the net proceeds donated to the Goodwin Holocaust Center. A couple little notes there. We make sure you understand, we give out candles. We don't charge for candles. All the donations that we get go straight to the Goodwin Education Center. And I'm happy to say most of the cost of the candles are from wonderful donations from our members. Members donate a quarter case, half a case, whole cases. So I'm very proud of that. And another quick note, the first year that I ordered candles, I get a call from the Federation of Jewish Men's Club, like, who are you? Because the candles were going to my office, not to a shul. You can't order candles like this. I said, why not? He said, and I explained, we're number 503, and we're a member of the Federation of Jewish Men's Club. I went through our whole history, and the guy was very happy, and there's never been a question since. So, we also have volunteered. We help with the transportation for our seniors. And when a few years ago, when the buses were necessary, we even paid for the buses for transportation to our seniors. And finally, we also helped at the Mid-East Institute. We have served as ushers since the year 2000. We had at least 25 people come every year, and we donated food services, manpower as co-sponsors since 2001. Okay, good. And now I'm happy to next past presidents, Larry Nadelson and Don Weinstein. Thank you.
Law Enforcement Appreciation Breakfast. Building relations between the Jewish community and the law enforcement community, created and organized since 1996. JCRC co-sponsored since 2000. Donated food service, manpower for ordering, preparing, and set up distributed thank you cards from Hebrew school children.
Just watch those wires.
We have a long history with the Jewish Community Center here. After many years of negotiations, we actually became officially their men's club. And it makes sense because we do so many of our activities connected with the Jewish Community Center. Regarding the JCC camp, we install playground equipment. We set up and take down and assist in the sukkah every year. We set up the Kids Land in 2016. Regarding the Maccabi games, we did the transportation, security, traffic. We hosted families, did the logistics, and we recognized those volunteers at our law enforcement appreciation program. We have members that serve on the Arts, Books, and Cultural Festival. We've contributed for the Israeli flagpole. We do yearly donations to subsidize the meal program for senior citizens, and I know personally my mother availed herself of that. It was a wonderful program and continues to be. We have Purim Carnival volunteers, and we have members that serve on the Active Adult Committee, the Jewish Film Festival, and the JCC Couples Club. Regarding the Jewish Community Foundation, we provide financial contributions through our mitzvah funds for humanitarian crises such as Hurricane Katrina, the Chile earthquake, etc. We also are involved with the cleanup of the Jewish section and painted the fence at the New Camden Cemetery, and our philanthropic donations via the South Jersey Men's Club Philanthropic Fund. As far as the Federation housing, we installed mezuzahs throughout Lionsgate. We manned the barbecue and ice cream socials. We do the monthly visitation to Lionsgate to support their men's club, and we invite their members to join us. So there's a lot that we do and a lot of things that you could get involved with. And for the next part of the presentation, I'm going to ask Bob Greenberg to come up. Bob.
Good morning, gentlemen. One of our organizations which we have become very close with is the Jewish Family and Children's Services. We actually started a food distribution for Passover several years before the JFCS took it over. We would go to the wholesale houses and we would pick up the food. We would box it, we would load it into a van. Randy, of course, he can attest to that. We filled his van up one year. I thought the tires were going to go flat. And we brought all of that over to the JFCS, and they distributed it to needy families. At that time, the neediest families were the Russian immigrants. And we would do on the average of 100 to 150 meals, full meals, would be like a week's worth of food. We also participate in the community food drive. We attend the sorting. After we help sort, because you have to sort between the kosher and non-kosher, we would go over to the food bank itself and we would fill the shelves. And as they needed help, as they got more food in, we would reorganize the shelves and continue to fill them. We also make a monthly donation. If you look over there, you'll see where we collect food, which goes directly to the food bank. And we provide transportation to medical and other appointments to help individuals who are unable to get around on their own. One of the things when we say we provide transportation, we also deliver food individually to people who cannot possibly pick the food up themselves. The non-Jewish related community services that we do, South Jersey Men's Club serves as officers and board members on many of the religious and service organizations. For the SJMC members, we do the following. We have our mitzvah card program, which Phil spoke about, and we provide a Shiva and Minyan services where we'll actually conduct the services for people who either are unaffiliated or for some reason their rabbi is unable to attend. We founded the Jewish Athletic Group. Dave Wynn was the driving force behind that. And if you see the manly people up here, we participate softball, volleyball, basketball, racquetball, a lot of balls. Pinochle, contact sport, bridge, tennis, bowling, street hockey, and just about anything else where somebody can say, hey, want to play? We do ongoing collections and donations for charities. We have the cell phones, we have the toiletries, which go to the homeless and the Yellow Ribbon, eyeglasses, which go to the Lions Club, and we do a monthly book swap and book donation. And if you haven't seen the collection of books over here, I invite you to. There's a nice collection of books over here. We also, for years, did a program for the state and federal Fugitive Safe Surrender Program. Now, what is this? This is once a year they would offer amnesty, or they would offer reduced sentences to fugitives who did not commit they didn't commit a violent crime. And they would come into whatever location was deemed, and they would sit before a judge and a prosecutor, and they would work out some type of compromise. Well, with all of those people, there needed to be food. And we volunteered for years preparing the food. When I say preparing the food, it wasn't anything fancy, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But we would provide over 1,000 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every time. And they would come in a big van, and they'd load them up. And we did a great job. We had peanut butter, we did it in this room one year, and we had peanut butter and jelly everywhere. It was just terrific. Now, one other thing that we do, besides just local charities, is that we do charitable givings to Israeli organizations, Israeli charities. And we do this on a matching fund basis. You give $1, our club gives $1. And we have the Victims of Terrorism, which is the nonprofit association for volunteering and assisting the hurt. A package from home, which is a care package for combat soldiers and soldiers without families in Israel and wounded soldiers. The Libby Fund, which is a fund for strengthening Israel's defense. That's for the needy soldiers. The Zar-El Foundation, which is a national project for volunteering in Israel. We've actually had a couple of programs on that for people who did go to Israel on a voluntary basis to help out. You help out on a military base. And donations toward rebuilding and re-equipping. Matter of fact, it was donations for resupplying fire truck when they had the big fire back in 2016, which destroyed literally hundreds of thousands of trees and lots of fire equipment. In addition, we've also collected fleece goods for the soldiers. In the wintertime, it gets cold, and we provide that. And that's just some of the things we do. Jerry, I now give you Jerry Mitzner. Hello, Jerry.
Hi, I'm Jerry Mitzner. I consider it a privilege to be able to come back and greet so many old friends. I don't get to many meetings anymore. I no longer live in the Cherry Hill area, and it's just wonderful to see everybody. All right, Mike. We support so many different organizations, so many different agencies of government. Toys for Tears, you got that up there, Mike? Provided stuffed animals to local, county, state, and federal law enforcement agencies and prosecutors to provide a moment of comfort to children. We provide a video library to any member of the community who wants to see our speakers and our presentations. With the U.S. military, we have supported Operation Maccabi. With the Hanukkah card programs, I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to sign Hanukkah cards here, but every year we promote the sending of our Hanukkah cards. We first did it after the first Gulf War in cooperation with the Jewish Welfare Board, and then after the Second Lebanon War, the program was expanded to include Israeli troops, and that was an honor to send Hanukkah cards to as many of the troops that want to receive those cards. We then expanded it further to our troops, to Jewish members of our military, and received a lot of good feedback as a result. We provided contributions plus donations of prayer books, kippahs, and shofars for Jewish servicemen and women in Iraq and Afghanistan. We provided the first full-size menorah to U.S. troops in Baghdad. Mike, is that it?
That's it.
So that was in Baghdad and back.
And notice that Nelson Melitz is there. He was posted there for the State Department.
We contributed toward community Hanukkah parties at the Tri-Service Military Base from 2006 to 2010. And monthly donations of toiletries and other items, as you heard, to the Yellow Ribbon Project. We organize volunteers to provide manpower, and this has been one of the key contributions that we do. We don't try to give a lot of money to the community, though we have given a lot of money, but the main thing that we provide is manpower. We contribute wherever a charitable need exists. We offer our manpower. We have contributed to the charity bike ride for the Arava Institute of Environmental Studies in Israel, and have given donations to the Camden County Hero Scholarship Fund made at the Law Appreciation Breakfast. We have contributed to the 40th anniversary memorial ceremony for the Munich 11 Olympics victims. Volunteered in shul renovations, particularly with Ner Tamid, but any shul that needs our help, we are there to provide help. And of course, Stand With Us, the Israel Advocacy Organization. We provided manpower to prepare special Passover Haggadah for distribution, and have shown the Stand With Us videos here several times. I'd like to present the president who followed me, and that's Big Ed Silver.
Thank you, Jerry. Jerry says he's no longer available, doesn't live in the Cherry Hill area, either do I. I'm the Medford Lakes Jew. Actually, when I first tried to move to Medford Lakes, I was aware that there was a history of not letting Jews in. I was a little concerned about it, but we've never had a problem. Anyway, modesty prevents me from telling you how many of these ideas for programs were mine before I became president. And I would encourage those members who are not active now, if you have ideas for programming, don't leave it up to the board members or the presidents. Marty's always happy to take ideas and we can discuss it with the board. Some of the things that we've done, we talked about coping with Christmas. We've had a number of different events in the last 2 years, where it's at the Voorhees Diner, and there are sign-up sheets at your table. I invite you to bring a guest and friend and come along for Christmas Day. We've also participated in something called Helmut's Hoedown. That is a first meal after Passover. It was at a restaurant last year. We had a really great time, and I will hope we'll do it again. In addition, we've done a number of educational trips. We've organized missions to Israel, walking tours of Jewish Philadelphia. We've participated in the National Museum of American Jewish History. It was a really nice event. My first year as a member of the men's club, we did a trip that was to Annapolis. The Navy Academy opened up a event for a Jewish admiral, Admiral Levy, I think it was.
Uriah P. Levy.
Uriah P. Levy. And that was a really interesting trip. We also had a speaker, when they renovated the Eastern State Penitentiary, they discovered a synagogue as part of the penitentiary, which shocked my father, who was convinced that Jews never get arrested or... So she was a speaker here and invited us to go see the event at the penitentiary. We also visited the Battleship New Jersey. Ed Stein was very persuasive in having a river cruise down near Vineland. We've also participated, before River Sharks closed, we've gone to several of their events, and also Trenton Thunder. Had a very nice time there. We also had a speaker once who gave a talk on something called, I forgot the name of what. He was a speaker, but he was also a winemaker, so he invited us to go down. The name of his vineyard is Amathea. Does anybody know what Amathea means?
Yeah. One of the moons of Jupiter.
It's one of the moons of Jupiter. You get the prize. In addition, we've also participated and created a number of activities that are not part of the Federation, but been very active in the JAG we talked about earlier. We have an investment club, and for new members, we encourage you to consider joining our investment club. Wave your hand. There's the gentleman over there who's in charge of it, Mr. Carth. And also Don Weisenstein, as a president, but also a very active member of our men's club, created their fantasy football. So I understand you're having quite a year so far. So those are some of the activities. I encourage you, if you have a program idea, talk to any of the board members or talk to our president. Thank you.
And it all comes together at our meetings. And I'd like to point something out before closing, and that is, we are not a breakfast club that you're expected to only come once a month to a breakfast. Sign up, help, do something. No one has ever been burned out, ever, because everybody does something. And unfortunately, there's no time for questions, but I do want to remind you about those yellow papers on your tables. There's 2 on each table. Sign up for anything that interests you and make any suggestions for future activities.
One quick thing, Mike. Look at that picture, guys. Now look around this room. Do you see anything different? More people. It's almost double.
Right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. There it is, I'm talking again. Oh, well, I'll talk like this. That was a great presentation. Now Dave Schwartz will bring up Mort Pomerantz, who will be talking on something a little bit lighter. Dave will introduce Mort. Mort is my poker buddy. We play every week poker, and somehow Mort wins every week.
Great job, guys. That was a very nice presentation. And I want to thank Mort for coming, as he does every month. but he asked to make a presentation, and I think you'll find it very enjoyable. I'm going to read this short bio and then let Mort come on up and take care of everything. Mort Pomerantz has been a member of our men's club for more than 15 years. Prior, he was a very active member in Bethel Men's Club. During those years as president, forgive me, he was also president of the Southern New Jersey Council, B'nai B'rith. As president, he was honored to meet with the governor of our state, where he presented the Holocaust curriculum that was adopted by the New Jersey public schools. Very impressive. Mort was also instrumental in achieving the installation of the beautiful Holocaust Memorial along Cooper River. Mort lives in Cherry Hill with his wife of 53 years, Phyllis. They have 2 children, 3 grandchildren. Besides his family, his 2 passions are basketball and theater. Mort began playing basketball at 16 in the Jewish Basketball League. Even though he was known for his outstanding rebounding, he set several scoring records. His last year, 1957, was a highlight, playing for the YMHA, a team that finished 24-0, the only undefeated team in the history of the league. When Mort's back problems forced him to give up basketball, he turned to theater, which he is here to tell you about. Please welcome Mort Pomerantz.
I think I'm here on the wrong day. I'm not a past president.
Want to be? He's going to be president first, though.
I just want to touch a minute on basketball. I don't know how many of you people know about the Jewish Basketball League. Anybody here play in the Jewish Basketball League?
Other than you.
Okay, it's one of the oldest independent leagues in Philadelphia. Most Jewish kids have played in the Jewish Basketball League. They started an alumni association in 1938. The first president of that association was Eddie Gottlieb. Anybody know that name? Eddie Gottlieb was a president in 1938, and he was president for a very long time. They every year they had banquets where they honored former players, and they had an award ceremony. They decided to honor me in 2009. The last year I played was 1957. It took them a hell of a long time to decide that they wanted to honor me. But I was happy to hear that, because 2008 was probably the worst year of my life. I was sick all year. I had 7 surgeries, 72 days in a rehab, infusions every day, daily infusions of antibiotics every day. So after 2008, I was ready for something good to happen in 2009. And I just like to,
Okay.
I don't know if I can get this. Just like to show you this is the plaque that was given to me in 2009. I'd like to read the inscription. It says, this is Mensch Award of the Jewish Basketball League alumni, presented by the Fenkel family to Mort Pomerantz. In recognition of your outstanding achievement in the sport of basketball and for your outstanding play in the Jewish Basketball League, you have now reached the highest plateau in the Jewish religion. Only one word that can truly describe you, Menschlichkeit. June 15, 2009, Simcha Gersh, President. I played basketball a long time, and I played a lot of leagues and a lot of trophies, and at this time I thought it was time to give it up and go back to the thing that I loved most, which was theater. I think most kids, when they're born, they come out crying. I think I came out singing and dancing. But I always wanted to be a professional actor from the time I was very small. When I was 10 years old, I was in my first play, and that was what was that? That was Christmas Carol. I see a former,
I knew it was you. I would just tell him, Rob, you're gonna be old as dirt, but your voice doesn't change. Not that you are.
we were in a play together at Haddonfield Plays and Players. So I did that play. When I was 11 years old, I wrote a play, which we did in elementary school. Once I started to grow, and I did grow, at one time I was 6'3", that's when I got into basketball. And I played basketball day and night, and had a hoop outside my house, and I always had a basketball in my hand. At this time, in 1957, after the award, I thought it was time to give up basketball and go back to acting. This is something that I'd never forgotten, but I just got away from it. And I decided to go all in. This time I was going to make it. I was going to achieve my goals. And I went all in. I was enrolled at Temple at the time, and I went 10 years at night. I did it the hard way. I got my degree 10 years at night. And I figured I got all the required business courses out of the way. I'd start to study acting now. I did acting, directing, broadcasting. In fact, I was in a couple of plays at Temple. I'm sure there were very few evening school students. In fact, while I was there was no other evenings. Mostly were kids in the theater department. So I did a couple plays, and then after that I started to do community theater and several shows. While I was at Temple, there was an audition notice for Playhouse in the Park. I don't know if any of you remember Playhouse in the Park. And Playhouse in the Park is an equity house, but they do hire. They cast people, non-equity, for minor roles. I figured I worked with the audition was at the Academy of Music. I worked a few blocks away. I figured, why not? So I went to the Academy of Music. Unbelievable the amount of people that were there, but I was cast in the play. I had to take 2 weeks vacation for my job. I had a week for rehearsal and a week for the shows, but it was well worth it. I was paid a lot of money for this. I was paid the grand total of $7. I don't know how they arrived at that number, whether that was supposed to be bus fare or gas or whatever it was, but it was $7. But it was well worth it. It was a great experience. I was there with some terrific actors. The play was The Best Man. It was a political play, movie. Henry Fonda, I think, was in the movie. And also Mark Richmond. I don't know if any of you remember him. He was in a TV series called Kane's 100. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but he was there. Ruth McDevitt, who was one of the original sisters in Arsenic and Old Lace. She was there. In fact, she was about 75 years. I shouldn't talk because I can't walk too much now. She was about 75 years old. We had to push her up and down the ramp. She couldn't make it. Also, there was Tom Gorman, not the baseball umpire. This was an actor who you probably don't know, but he was a veteran actor. He was in about 700 TV shows. And I talked to him a lot. I tried to pick his brain. I told him that was my dream. I always wanted to make it in theater. In fact, when I was a little kid and I used to watch the Academy Awards, I used to cry because I felt that I should be getting one. And I spoke to him and I asked him for advice, and he told me that he said, if this is your dream, go for it. But he said, one thing, I'd like to caution you with one thing. It's a very tough business. And if you decide that you want to go for it, give yourself a block of time. Whether it's 5 years or 10 years, whatever it is, you got to take that out of your life and devote that to theater. Do everything you possibly can. Well, I couldn't take 5 or 10 years. I had to work. So I couldn't take it. I figured I would have to do it some other way. After this experience at Playhouse in the Park, my next show was my favorite. I did Guys and Dolls. I did Nathan Detroit and Guys and Dolls. That show, that was my favorite show of all time. And I did that show. I had to wear a spinal brace because I was in a bad accident. That's one of the reasons I quit basketball. I did that show 6 weeks with a brace on. And in fact, the big scene, the Luck Be a Lady, the crap shooting scene, I had to ad lib because I couldn't bend down to pick up the dice. But got through that, and then at this time, my social life consisted of girls that I did shows with, and girls in the beauty pageant, Miss Pennsylvania beauty pageant. A friend of mine had the franchise for Miss Pennsylvania, and I figured I'd help him out. I'd help him with the pageant. This was Miss Pennsylvania, Miss Universe. But I was looking for more. I wanted to meet a nice Jewish girl. I was 32 years old at this time, and I really didn't know. I wouldn't say I didn't know any, but I didn't know many. We had a Jewish League, one of these alumni banquets, and I'm there with the people, and we're catching up, and we start talking. Some married, some divorced, and I say, I'd like to meet a nice Jewish girl. I talk to this guy, and he says he's a teacher in the Philadelphia school system. And he said, I have somebody, I'll get you her number. So he calls me and gives me her number. And I called this girl up Sunday night, and it worked out perfectly because she lived in Center City and I lived in Center City. I call her and say, I got your number, I'd like to meet you. She says, well, I don't have, I just came back from a trip. I'm tired. I said, look, I live a few blocks away from here. I'll come over, we'll have coffee and talk. Anyway, I go over there. She lives in 20 apartment building at 21st and Chestnut, and she has two roommates. One is named Marilyn, and the other is named Phyllis. And so we start talking. I tell them that I'm going to be auditioning for Gypsy in a couple weeks. This is the first professional dinner theater in Philadelphia. This was before the riverfront. Well, this girl named Phyllis said, oh, I love Gypsy. And we start singing the songs from Gypsy. The other two girls thought we were nuts. I came to meet this one, and I'm singing songs with her. Well, I leave, and I go to the audition. And I happen to be cast in the play. I happen to be cast as Herbie, the lead in Gypsy, Ethel Merman's boyfriend, real excited. We were going to be reviewed by all the Philadelphia papers. There were more papers at that time. There was at least the Record, the Bulletin, and there may have been the Record too. I really don't remember. But I was so excited, I figured maybe this is my shot. And rehearsals go real well. The opening night is scheduled for November 22nd, 1963. I'm sure everybody remembers what happened that day. Needless to say, we were very upset. The show didn't go on, was postponed. We did Sunday matinee. Sunday matinee, the show was 2 o'clock. What happened before that? Ruby shot Oswald. People were not in it. Everybody was this upset. People were not in a Gypsy frame of mind. Well, we did the show. We got through the show, and come home. And I figured I really like this girl Phyllis. I want to give her a call and take me to see the show. So I call her, and we go out on December 6th. We were engaged on December 28th, and married on June 28th. So I guess she was the right Jewish girl for me.
How many years, Mort?
53. And, well, I was a gypsy for the better part of 2 years between Philadelphia and New Jersey. She came to every show. And after that, well, actually, when we got married, she had to come to every show because I was still I worked full time, I was going to school 2 nights, and I did 4 shows a week. Wow. So that I was very busy. If she didn't come to shows, we wouldn't have seen each other. After Gypsy closed, the next show, that's my real claim to fame. I was in the Diary of Anne Frank. We did this in New Jersey, and the girl that played Anne Frank was Judith Light. Wow. Anybody know Judith Light? Yeah. Judith Light has won Emmys and Tonys, and she was the boss. And Who's the Boss? And that was a great experience. Then took a little break for a while, and we wanted to spend some time together. The next show that I did was The Music Man. We did that in Philadelphia. Phyllis was pregnant with our first child at this time. We both had the flu. I was in Music Man. I did the show with 103 fever. We don't have understudies in community theater. You either cancel the show or the director reads your part. Yeah. That's what happens. After that, I continue to do. I can't list it all because I have a time constraint. I was told not to go too long with all the past presidents. They need the time. So I did some shows. I was in retail at this time, and I was in charge of a group of stores. And then I was promoted to the general manager of the chain, 75 stores, which meant that I'd be was based in New York, which meant that I'd be working in New York, which meant that I'd have to move to New York. My wife taught in Cherry Hill. My kids were teenagers. They didn't want to move, so we compromised. I lived and worked in New York. In fact, I wanted to commute, but the first year I stayed there all week. Now, I was there all week. I needed something to do. And what city is better for theater than New York? Okay? So I start looking for trade magazines and auditions, and I come across this playwrights workshop in Long Island, where they give playwrights an opportunity to perform original plays. And I figured, why not? I'm not doing anything. I go to the audition, and who should I meet there but someone that played on this 57 basketball team. He was also auditioning, and we catch up, and tells me that he's trying to write plays and he's acting. Well, anyway, I was cast in the show. I take my children and my wife with me on a weekend. They stayed at the hotel where I stayed, and my daughter was so excited that the people are paying money to see their daddy, and helping me on with my makeup. You know, that was a new experience where they had never seen me before. Well, anyway, we do the show. It went well. At intermission, the guy in charge of the whole thing comes back and he says he wants to talk to me privately. Okay. We go into my dressing room, and he says, "I got exciting news for you. There are people out," I get emotional. "There are people out front that, from the young and the restless. And they told me they really like your performance, and they're replacing some people next week, and they'd like you to come to the audition." I don't have to tell you, that I was flying, this young and the restless. I mean, if the director wants me to audition, I mean, that's better than going in cold. So I don't know how I got through the second act, but I did. And everybody there said, "Congratulations, it's wonderful." We get home. I was 50 years old at this time. We get home and we talk about it. I can't possibly do it. I can't possibly do it. I have 2 teenage kids. I was just promoted. I was the number 3 man in the company. I'd been with the company 15 years. Even if I get cast, I probably wouldn't get more than a 13-week contract. So I was sick about it, but I figured that I can't do it. I can't gamble. You have to make money in this world, and even I couldn't do it. I was heartbroken, but it didn't happen. Continue to do community theater, and I was in Sunshine Boys. I did the Walter Matthau part in Sunshine Boys, which I did twice. This one was community theater. I also did it professionally later on. There was one problem with Sunshine Boys. While the show was going on, we were negotiating a union contract for my company, and I was on the management team. Tough to rehearse for a show in New Jersey when you have union negotiations in New York. Well, we got around it, and they basically had to do the rehearsals when I was available, but we did it, and at this point, I figured it's time for me to retire. I figured it was very stressful to work in New York, away from my family, the travel back and forth. I put on 60 miles a year in my car. And I felt at this point I was 61, I'm going to retire next year. So I did. I retired. The year that I retired, I was in 6 plays and 1 commercial. The commercial that I did was for San Giorgio's Pierogies. And we did it right here on Kings Highway in Haddonfield. I was the father of the bride, and instead of rice, they threw pierogies at the bride's groom. That was the commercial. And did a number of shows. Now I didn't have to worry. Now I was retired. I didn't have to make money. I could do this as much as I wanted. Except that I auditioned for a movie in Manhattan. It was Night Falls Over Manhattan with Andy Garcia. And, they need lots of people. They need lots of detectives and policemen. And I had done a lot of that because in those days I was big. I was 6'3", 240 in my youth. And I went there. We auditioned in a school in Harlem. It was summer. And there had to be at least 100 people there for this. It was cattle call for this audition. I'm waiting out there in the heat, and finally, after 4 hours, the director said, they took all the union people. Director says, "Leave your resumes in a basket. If we need you, we'll call." Never got to audition. That convinced me I'm never going to do that again. Not at this age. That's how you spend a retirement. Continue to do shows. And when my wife saw how well it worked for me, she retired a couple years later, and she thought she would try it too. And we auditioned for a play, Never Too Late. Does anyone remember that? With Paul Ford. We auditioned for that, and we both got cast. I got cast the lead, she got cast as my wife's friend. It was a perfect show, Never Too Late. And she got to enjoy it so much, we've been in 13 shows together. And really, now everything wasn't great. In fact, theater can be very frustrating. In fact, I remember when I was in college, the unemployment number was 85%. Now it's what, 4% overall? Actors were 85%. I was in a play in New York, the same playwrights workshop, and there was a young man in it who was 32 years old. He had been studying for 8 years. This was his first show, no money, and he'll never make it because he had an accent, he was Lebanese, but he wanted it, that was his dream, so he went after it. Everything wasn't perfect. I was lucky that I got, most of the plays that I went for, I was cast, but I also had some experiences that you would not believe. I was in a play called Cemetery Club. I don't know if any of you remember that. Danny Yella, I think, was in it. I don't remember who, and Olympia Dukakis. I don't remember all the people. I was in Cemetery Club. This was a beautiful theater in Bucks County and a huge parking lot. And this is the most competition that I had ever had for any role. There was one male character, and there were 18 people auditioning. And I was cast in the role. And the people that I worked with were amazing. The woman that was my love interest in the play was a professional actress most of her life, and she toured with Brian Dennehy. Anyone? Brian Dennehy, the actor? She toured, and everybody was really great. I auditioned for the same play a couple years later. I was the only one that auditioned, and I wasn't cast. The only one that auditioned. Now, how can that happen? Because what happened is that the director had someone in mind, a friend of hers, and that's who she cast. Another play was Mixed Emotions. Anybody know that one? Probably not. Mixed Emotions, it was about a couple, middle-aged couple, or that finds themselves later in life. I went to the audition, and I find out that it's during Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Couldn't do the show then, and I was really upset. Then there's another prestigious group in Chestnut Hill, Pennsylvania, that did it about a year later. I auditioned for the play and get a beautiful rejection notice. Thank you for auditioning. We hope you'll consider us again, and so forth. That's it. 2 weeks later, I get a call from the director. Are you still interested? I said, I thought it was cast. Well, we're calling back 2 or 3 people from that audition. We like to call them back. What happened is the guy that they cast had a heart attack and died. He had never done anything this big in his life. He was a friend of the director. He had done a minor part, and he died. Well, anyway, I was cast. I was cast in the show. I enjoyed it. There was only one problem. I was supposed to be in love with a woman, and I couldn't stand her. We didn't even speak to each other. When we were off stage, we didn't even speak to each other. That's acting. We had friends of ours that came to the show, and they couldn't believe it. They could not believe that, that's the kind of relationship we had. in 97, this is, I had a quadruple bypass. And I was in rehab, and Phyllis says to me that you need a show. I said, a show? I can't even talk. I was like that, you know, I couldn't breathe. Well, anyway, I did audition 13 days after my heart surgery. There was a big thing, they had a big thing in the paper, there's life after heart surgery, they had my picture and the girl that plays my daughter, and went to the show, and we both were cast. We both were cast in our town, and she was cast as my wife. I was told not to talk too long, so one of the last shows that I did was Over the River and Through the Woods. I don't know, anybody know that one? Okay, my wife and I played Italian grandparents. The night before the read-through, when you rehearse a play, the first day is first rehearsal is a read-through, everybody sits around and reads. The night before the read-through, I was in the hospital with a dislocated hip. So the director calls and says, tells my wife they're going to read through. They said, well, Mort's in the emergency room, but he'll be there tomorrow. And I was. And I happened to get a Best Supporting Actor award for that. I did get a couple of them. The last play that I did, which was 2007, it was 2008, I was sick, remember, so this 2007 was the last play, and it was Cemetery Club again. But this was a script in hand, where you don't memorize everything, you just, you act, but you do it with the script in hand. And he says, why do you want to do this? I said, because this makes 50 years that I've been performing as an adult. He said, what's the difference if it's 49 or 50, Well, anyway, I did this, and that was the last show that I did. Even though I didn't realize my dream as a professional actor, I feel blessed that I was able to do this all the time. And I really had a lot of fun. And, well, I hope I've enjoyed this trip down memory lane. I hope you have too. And if you haven't, see Steve Schwartz, because this was his idea. That's why I'm here today. Thank you very much.
One thing Mort didn't say, when we used to play poker, and I didn't realize it was that far back, a couple of times we would go to see Mort and Phyllis at the theater. Mort was the only guy who didn't need a microphone.
I still don't.
Yes.
Although there is one here, but I don't.
And Phyllis, one of the things about her part, I remember she had a part that was very interesting, and you got to hate her part. That's how good she was.
Lost in Yonkers.
Yes.
That's what it was. She was a grandmother in Lost in Yonkers.
Mort, we'd like to give you this South Jersey Men's Club certificate.
But I'm not a president.
It's okay. There's always time for that.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys.
Now, we still have the 50-50. Is there anybody else who might not have put in for 50-50? Mort, your last duty is to call my number.
Okay. Where is he?
Here it comes. What?
Give him the number. Give him your number.
That's the winning prize. You can't take the money.
Oh, that's
yet.
the money.
Looks like a lot of money.
It's 734 535.
Not even close. 535? Look at that, newest member. Or next to newest member. How much? Mike? $62 is the winner.